It's been a week since I've uploaded, over a week. Last time I uploaded was after, or on the same day as England were playing, and I'm uploading on another day that England are playing, and the World Cup is shit. Although I did just watch a great game from Ecuador and Senegal. But we're not here to talk about the World Cup. We are here to talk about, unfortunately, West Ham United. And a lot of people have been wondering, why are West Ham so shit in 2022? And today, we're going to delve into that and what was the cause of it, and unfortunately why it's not just down to one person or one reason on why nowadays we are so shit. So let's get into the video.
There's the final whistle from the referee, Craig Dawson, and West Ham have done it. They have beaten Liverpool.
Starting first with, actually after an iconic win in the second David Moyes reign of West Ham United, it is the West Ham game where we beat Liverpool 3-2. This was Liverpool's first loss, although they had some dodgy draws at the time against Brighton and Brentford, who both put up a great fight against them, against Liverpool as well. We got kind of lucky in a sense with a couple refereeing decisions looking back. But I also think we got some decisions that were rightfully given our way, and I think we outperformed them, and we deserved it. Counter-attacking football, we didn't just defend, we attacked as well. But there was one problem with that whole game, and that was Angelo Ogbonna getting an injury. Now, Ogbonna at first went down, and then he got up and carried on, but he went down again. Even the Liverpool players, like people like Jordan Henderson, thought he was faking it. But turns out it was a very long-term injury, and unfortunately reported by ex-West Ham employee at the time, it was a very long-term injury. And at the time, Ogbonna and Zuma was a good partnership in the league, and Dawson and Diop was a good partnership in the Carabao Cup games and the Europa League games. Now, this all had to change. Some of us were calling for Diop and Zuma because of how well they played against Dynamo Zagreb, including myself at the time on Kurt Zuma's debut. But it wasn't that, and Craig Dawson came into that game, performed really well, and it was a Zuma-Dawson partnership. Now, unfortunately, a couple games later, or a couple weeks later, after the international break at the time, we lost to Wolves, and Dawson had a horrible game. We lost to Man City. We lose to Man City, fair enough. It's what it is. We drew to Brighton, where we were toothless. But then we beat Chelsea. Another positive result. Another team that I love seeing West Ham beat. But another problem. It was Kurt Zuma's injury. This time, Kurt Zuma got injured. And Ben Johnson got injured after Masuaku came on and scored. They definitely didn't mean it. But this was the start of the decline. Because ever since that Liverpool game, we didn't win many games. We barely won 10 games, I'm pretty sure. I should have checked that. In the Premier League, I mean. I should have checked the stats for that, but whatever. And the problem is that even Moyes said it himself, it gave us a left-sided balance when Ogbonna was fit. So Ogbonna was out for the rest of the season. Zuma was out till January, and he actually came back earlier than we thought. But the problem was we had to play with the cut pairing of Issa Diop and Craig Dawson. Now, this was the start of the real light on Issa Diop and whether Craig Dawson could really step up. Before this, Craig Dawson was like, he performed some good games, he performed some bad games. There was a big divide into the opinion of Craig Dawson, but he was actually one of the better players ever since the Kurt Zuma situation with the Cat in February. I would say since then, he performed very well. Now, the problem is that with the Diop and Dawson pairing, and Zuma getting injured half the time, there were games like Leeds 3-2 at home, Southampton 3-2 at home. Even at the start of the Watford game where we beat them 4-1, Emmanuel Dennis drops Craig Dawson and puts in an absolute banger of a goal into the net. And it was a big, big problem. Issa Diop even got cheered off as he came off against Leeds when we beat them 3-2. Now that has happened this season as well, when someone got cheered off for being subbed off, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that was the first part of the decline ever since that Liverpool game where Ogbonna got injured and Kurt Zouma got injured a few games later.
Have a look. It's going to be red, I think, isn't it? Not yellow. Well, this is an absolutely devastating blow.
Now, if you would remember, the previous season before last, in the 2020-2021 season, David Moyes put out a side that you could settle with at first that consisted of the likes of a back three with Cresswell at left centre-back and Masuaku at wing-back and Souček up and down in the box. Vladimir Coufal comes in against Leicester. And it will be Fornals on the left, Bowen on the right, and Antonio up front with Rice in the middle, of course. And this was working for a while until Masuaku got injured and Said Benrahma, he would either have to come in, etc. Or Lingard in January. And the people in that season that shined was Jesse Lingard, Cresswell, Coufal and Souček. They were probably up there with our best players of the season. Obviously, Declan Rice played really well that season as well. Bowen was here and there. Antonio played well. Fornals played well, etc. That's my computer telling me to turn it off. Now, here was the problem. Thomas Souček had a really good season, scoring 9 to 10 goals, I think, in the Premier League. Vladimir Coufal and Cresswell get assists from left, right and centre. Aaron Cresswell, the next season, as we saw, as he showed, was getting caught in behind in loads of games. Again, that Leeds game where Rafinha absolutely ripped him to pieces. The Frankfurt game, of course, the Frankfurt game where he got a red card. And even though it wasn't a red card against Lyon, or it should have been a red card against Lyon, he was still caught in behind by Dembele. Now, this was the start of the decline of, despite having a good season, we should have signed a left-back that season after only signing Vlasic, Zuma, Krau and Areola. Cresswell still should have had competition from a long time ago. For some reason, Moyes still saw Masuaku as a left-back, although he could have done a job as a winger instead if we were going to keep him in the squad in that season. Because Masuaku cannot defend in a 4 at the back, and there were a couple of games where he had to fill in as well, and it was very annoying. And here was the problem as well. Aaron Cresswell started to decline. He was getting torn apart, and every time we would try to play possession football on encounter, Declan Rice would have to cover him. Then we'll get ripping midfield because Declan Rice is now having to do 3 jobs at the same time. Vladimir Coufal got an injury against Manchester United in the Carabao Cup when Matic knees him in the groin. I've talked about this injury ever since. I've talked about that measuring his decline ever since then. Vladimir Coufal found it hard to come back from injury. He done some great things like assist against Arsenal when he sets up Jarrod Bowen in the box, but we didn't see enough of the instinctive crossing from Vladimir Coufal. Now, obviously, Cresswell got that assist against Tottenham for the corner. Bit of a lucky goal, though. If you think about it, it's bad marking from Harry Kane for Antonio. It's still a good corner, though. Cresswell is very good at corners. Cresswell is actually not that bad in possession, but he doesn't overlap and sometimes loses concentration and has never really been that great at defending. My opinion on Aaron Cresswell is that he was brilliant in his debut season, the 14-15 and 15-16 season, and then was shit ever since then when he was fit. And apart from when Moyes played him in the 17-18 season when he came in for his first reign and played him left centre back in the first place. He was really good then. And then after that, he had a good season in the 2021 season. And last year, he did not have a good season like the other seasons he's had. He may have been a good servant. He's respectful. He knows what it means now to be at West Ham. He's been here long enough. Unfortunately, he's got another contract, but he shouldn't be playing for West Ham United, and this has been the problem for a long time, where we are too loyal to players, which we will also get onto. And people like Thomas Souček, as I mentioned in the video, who was very good box to box, putting his head everywhere, bleeding after getting tackled all the time. We started to see the decline after the Leeds game. The Leeds game where we actually won at Ellen Road, where he gives the ball away, Rodrigo passes it to Rafinha slots it home. Now, because Rice was playing a more box-to-box role, Souček was a bit hindered by the fact that he couldn't go forward because we're trying to play possession football, and that would be better with Rice going forward rather than Souček going forward. But when Souček was given license to go forward, when he would get in the box, he wouldn't score. Now, Souček did get a goal against Brighton at the time, and he got a goal against Watford. One was a header, one was a rifle in the box with a good strike in the goal. And he did well there in those games, but he was getting caught out in possession. He doesn't like the ball to feet. He can't provide in a possession-based team. And some of us were, including myself, were a bit, maybe too much of a defender of Souček because of his previous brilliant season. And I thought, give him a chance this season. And this season as well, he has been shocking. He has been shocking. If you looked at my player ratings video, which was my last video, I gave him a 0 out of 10, I'm pretty sure. He's been absolutely shocking. He got cheered off against Crystal Palace and came off for Flint Downs, but still started against Leicester City. This is the problem that we'll come on to later. But that is the decline of players, and that is a big problem at West Ham United, is that the players that brought us here couldn't bring us any further. Souček gave us a great moment against Sevilla. He played really well in that game overall. Everyone did in that game, because it was the biggest game in our history in years, apart from the last game at the Bowling. But that was the second problem at West Ham United, where we saw a big decline of players. And apart from, I would say, Craig Dawson and Jared Bowen that turned up in the second part of the season, other than that, it wasn't great from most people, apart from Declan Rice, of course.
Here, Antonio Chulak pouncing on the error. A terrific recovery from Naif Agüert.
To put into context now, we were out against Frankfurt, deservedly so. They outplayed us, even with 11 men. We probably would have lost that game. It was very hard to come by when they score in the first minute in the home leg. That really dampened the crowd quick. Fornals gets caught at the back post. No one's closing down the cross in the first place. And we got outplayed in their second goal in their first leg. And in the second leg, they scored a good goal and controlled the game very well. We then beat Norwich 4-0, as expected. Norwich were already relegated, and we played some good football in that game. We then had to the last two games of the season against Manchester City and Brighton. Mark Noble's last two games, including his last home game against Manchester City. We bottled a 2-0 lead because of Vladimir Coufal and certain other players as well. I thought Cresswell played well that game, though, I'll be honest. Antonio and Jared Bowen, brilliant that game. Antonio probably should have scored a third goal for us in that game. And then we head to Brighton, lose 3-1. And in a press conference, David Moyes said, if we don't get at least 10 more players, something like that, we will be battling on the wrong side of the table. Now, has that quote aged well? It actually has aged well, but for all the wrong reasons that he was saying in the press conference. I did paraphrase that quote, so if you could put the real quote in the comments if anyone knows, feel free to tell me. I'm going off memory in terms of that quote. Now, it all goes down to the pre-season, where I could see from the Luton game especially that I did not know what we were doing. There was a lot of three at the back. We had a lot of players that were used to three at the back systems. Flynn Downs playing at Swansea, Connor Coventry at MK Dons, the likes of Rice, Cresswell, Masuaku, Johnson, Zuma, well not Zuma, Dawson, Ogbonna, etc. All the original players that got us there in the first place have all played in a three at the back system for West Ham United. But we were trying to play possession football, and Mark Warburton gets appointed because he played three at the back against QPR, and he wanted to go, and Moyes wanted to eventually go with that system. So against Luton, we bottle it at the end. People batter Connor Coventry for a pre-season game because that's what our fans are like online. And then against Lens, we were absolutely shit. In your game before the season starts in pre-season, you need to take it seriously because you're about to be prepared for the league. And we'll see that against Fulham away, whether we'll be good enough to even do anything in the league for the months to come. Because that will be the game before the Arsenal game. Now, I said this off camera to a few people, we're not ready for the season. We're not ready. After watching the Lens game, we was not ready. And Naya Ged got injured against Rangers. And we will talk about the signings in the next topic. But this was always going to be a problem where it's a rushed season because of the World Cup, but other teams are battling the exact same schedule. So you've got to do better management of players coming in, players coming out, who wants to leave, who wants to stay. People still wanted to leave, like Issa Diop, Masuaku, etc. Players like that. We didn't know whether Darren Randolph was going to leave, and we'll have Nathan Trott as third keeper, but that shouldn't be a problem anyway. We didn't have Scamacca at the time. I think we signed Scamacca just before the Lens game, and we signed Paqueta at the Aston Villa game. So despite getting a lot of signings, maybe a couple of signings were late, but it is a hard market. I sympathise with that. We didn't look ready against Manchester City, where we lost 2-0, deservedly so. Zuma didn't look ready. We had Johnson at centre-back because, according to Moyes, Issa Diop didn't put himself ready for that game, but Issa Diop said he was lying. We had Sufa at right-back who was shit. Souček was shit. Said Benrahma, there was rumours of him leaving for Nottingham Forest, came on and had a really bad cameo, but he was the only one creating. It saw the introduction of Scamacca and Cornet walk out before the game started, as he's introduced to the fans. We then play Nottingham Forest, where we weren't ready again. Benrahma being our man of the match, and other certain players putting up a really stinky game, where again Zuma and Johnson are centre-back pairing. I'm a big fan of Kurt Zuma as a player, but he was shit for the first 3 games, which made us lose to Brighton 2-0 due to, I guess, Tilo Kehra's error for the first goal and just a split in defence for the second goal, and the fans booed the players, rightfully so. And Declan Rice comes out with one of the worst interviews I've ever seen, saying we are not Man City, but also saying that we have world-class players. Very, very contradicting. And that is the shit pre-season leading to the first 3 games of the season. We're going to get on to the next topic.
Top goal scorer last season with 9 goals in 26 appearances. He will be wearing the number 14. Once again, please welcome Maxwell Cornet.
Now, as I mentioned in a previous topic, West Ham needed a lot of signings. And the Brighton game, where Moyes clearly wanted more players, so I expected from that press conference, if Moyes is really in charge of the transfers, and he's brought in a sporting director, or director of football, whatever Rob Newman's doing, chief scout, there's too many roles in football for me to keep up with. If they're clearly in charge of the signings now, then go and sign some players. It took a long time, but Naya Ged gets signed just after the international break ends. I don't remember. Our second signing was Areola, made on a permanent deal from the loan season he had. He's not put a foot wrong, in my opinion, apart from the Man City game where I think he's the one that fouls Haaland. We signed... I'm trying to think of it in order, actually. But we signed... I can't be asked, but we signed Flynn Downs, Gianluca Scamacca, Emerson, Thilo Kehrer, and Lucas Paqueta, and Maxwell Cornet. I didn't get the order right, but whatever, innit? I was happy with every signing at the time. I was unsure whether Cornet could improve us in possession, and I was unsure whether Emerson was the right fit as a left back. After speaking to a few people, watching a few videos, I was happy with the Emerson signing in the end. I've actually been really impressed with him this season at wing back. I do think he should play in the back four. We saw him play in the back four against Chelsea. He was good, so we should play him in the back four. And Cresswell shouldn't play. Now, obviously, it's going to take time to gel. This was obviously the perfect signings. We needed someone creative. We got Lucas Paqueta. We needed a centre back. We've got Naif again to replace Issa Diop. He got injured, so we got Tilo Kera. I don't even know if it's Kera or Kera anymore. I'm very confused. I'm going to call him Kera in this video, but he's actually been better at right back. We signed Emerson. We haven't played him. We signed Flynn Downs. We haven't played him. We signed Cornet. He's been injured. We always get injuries at this club. We always get major injury situations, and it seems to be a common theme, unfortunately, at the club. But Maxwell Cornet is injury prone, so is Kurt Zuma, and it took time for everyone to gel. Cornet was robbed of a goal at Stamford Bridge. He's a goal threat. He played well against Silkeborg and FCSB, winning penalties. Probably shouldn't have been given either of them as penalties, but we take them as we could come. Skamaka has been nothing short of great for me, but has got no service because the players are so far away from him. It's unbelievable, and I put that down to not just the players but the system as well. Flynn Downs has been immense. I thought he would be, despite the highlights, he looked really good. I thought he would be shite, and I thought we just signed him for sentimental reasons and for the English quota, but this guy is absolutely unbelievable, and the Swansea fans weren't lying. But he should be playing in a 4-3-3 system with Paqueta and Rice. Paqueta is the only one who creates, and he gets berated, but when Fornals gives away the ball, and it leads to a Leicester goal, he doesn't get berated on this app. Neither does, or on Twitter, sorry. Craig Dawson gave away a penalty in that game, but Fabianski, again, for the third time, has saved him in this calendar year. And a lot of signings were needed, and a lot of signings might come if we back David Moyes. If we get another manager, I don't know what's going to happen. They might not even like the new players that come. But Paqueta needs to play deeper. Paqueta needs to play as like an 8. Declan Rice needs to play box-to-box, and Flynn Downs needs to play just behind them. That's the only way you're going to get the best out of all these 3 players in midfield. That's going to be our best midfield. We don't have a 10. We don't have a good 10. Fornals is not a 10 anymore. I mean, Fornals is just not a good 10. Lanzini's not good enough to play 10 anymore. He will be leaving. I prefer Ben Rama on the wing with an overlapping left back so he could get into pockets. Burrow needs to fucking fix up, or just put Cornet there when he's fit. And Antonio Skamaka can battle it out. Just help your strikers. They're 2 different strikers. Just help them. Help them both. Help them both. Because both of them will need help. Both of them will need service. And this has been a problem. A lot of signings. But these are the signings we needed. And I still think Rob Newman deserves credit. Despite this bad season, Rob Newman still deserves credit for helping Moyes with these signings. I think they've done great with the signings. But, and you picked people with great attitudes as well. Someone like Cornet is very happy to be here. Someone like Skamaka is very happy to be here. Paqueta, apparently his family cried because they were so happy for him that he got to the Premier League. And these players want to be here. These players want to do a job for us. So you pick players with good attitude. But if you're not careful, you will lose the dressing room. You will lose the dressing room. And it's getting me angry again thinking about it. I'm glad I don't have to watch West Ham for a month. But we still got to fix up, and that has been a big problem, is that the lack of usage with the signings, and we're going to get onto 2 similar topics next. Ever since David Moyes has come to West Ham United, he has always wanted to provide competition for everyone in the squad. Now, the problem with saying these things in public is that people will hold you to your word. And that happens with every manager. People expect you to talk the talk and walk the walk. Just do both. The problem with this is because we've had players such as Pablo Fornals, Aaron Cresswell, Thomas Souček, Vladimir Coufal, and Jared Bowen especially, all get us to certain places where we've needed to be, and there'll always be cult heroes for that. But when they're not playing well, it takes a long time for David Moyes to realise that they're not good enough anymore. Aaron Cresswell does not help his winger. When he's overlapping, he needs to be dropped for an energetic player like Emerson, who, is not good is not really good at defending, but neither is fucking Cresswell. Tilo Correa needs to be given a chance at right back, but he also needs his right winger to actually show for the fucking ball. Jared Bowen always looks for the ball in behind. I don't know whether that's an instruction or not, but it should be common sense to not just expect your right back to long ball it if you want to play in a possession-based side. Isn't that just common sense? And Maxwell Cornet will have to come in for him. Said Benrahma has finally replaced Pablo Fornals on the side. Moyes has only found himself comfortable to sub Fornals in this season. Yes, Fornals scored against FCSB and Blackburn, but if you don't score against FCSB and Blackburn, you just deserve a slap in the changing room. That should be the expectation. Like, score against them. Too much loyalty. There's too much loyalty. He's only just started to phase out Fornals, and against Palace and Leicester, he subbed off Souček for the first time. He tried Paqueta in a deeper position against Leicester, and he tried Flynn Downs against Crystal Palace. And already we were passing the ball way better. Now, Paqueta can play in the 10 if you play Flynn Downs behind him, but ideally, let's play a 4-3-3. Let's try it. We can press better. We can actually press as well. Like, if you just tell the players to press and be attacking like you've said you wanted to be, you got to do that. You got to put it into fruition. And Jared Bowen doesn't get dropped. He doesn't get subbed. The only time he gets dropped is when we're playing midweek to rest him for the weekend. Bowen should be playing midweek games instead of the Premier League games. But the problem with that is Fornals hasn't been good and Maxwell Cornet hasn't been fit. And if I hear one more suggestion of putting Mikel Antonio on the wing, he's 33. You're going to kill the guy if you put him there. It's genuinely disappointing that we haven't turned up. And a lot of people are laughing at us now. I'm used to that because we've been in the relegation battles. I still don't think we're in a relegation battle, but I would understand if people make an argument for it because look at where we are. And if Moyes is not careful, we will be fucked. We will be absolutely fucked in this league. He needs to drop players. He needs to be ruthless. I know people like Craig Dawson, but him leaving will actually be a blessing because of the ball playing centre-backs that we need. And I know this is a bit of a buzzword, but this is what we need in football now. This is what we need in our team. If you want to be attacking and play on the front foot and possession like you've claimed to be, then you need to get Craig Dawson out. He's a very overrated player at this club, but he's done very well for us, and I understand why people like him. But people overstate it, how good he's actually done for us, because Fabianski has saved this guy so many times. It's unbelievable. Credit to Fabianski for that. Someone like Thomas Souček shouldn't play for the club anymore. You shouldn't play for the club anymore. I gave you an extra chance when there was rumours of you being sold. You should go. Thank you for everything you've done. Thank you for Seville. Thank you for that 2021 season. One of the best individual seasons I've seen from a player at West Ham United. Thank you. And the same goes for your guy Souček as well. He will probably go in January as well. He will be the one that goes in January. And thank you for everything you've done at this club as well. But you need to go as well. I do not want to see these players at the club. Thomas Souček is 26, but he plays like he's 36. And that's not me being abusive or me being harsh. It's the fucking truth. If you watch this lanky doodle actually play football. So play Flynn Downs. Play Gerd when he comes. He'll probably have to be with Dawson. Sign another centre-back. Because Dawson will leave and Zuma will be injured. And we need to sell Dawson because we're going to lose him on a free. Play Emerson. Play Cornet. when he comes back from injury and play Scamacca and help him out. Let's get on to the last subject.
Foul. Paqueta. Scamacca scores! And the Hammers finally have their way.
Now, the point of signing players is that you've got to have a plan. You can't just throw different players in the same system you've been playing for 3 years. Now, I know Moyes has tried 3 at the back. Also doesn't work because of how much space we give opposition teams off the ball and how isolated the wing-backs are on the ball. If you look at when we play 3 at the back, it's usually Emerson and Sufel that play wing-back. Every time they get the ball, no one shows for them. So they have to go backwards, or Emerson will run forwards where he's running into traffic because nobody shows for the ball. Only the midfielders show for the ball because there's barely any width. And if you want to play wing-backs, you've got to have width. You can't just rely on all the wing-backs to do everything despite you having wing-backs in this system. I know it's very reliant on the wing-backs, but they can't do everything. The 4-2-3-1 can work if you just put the wingers a bit closer. That, again, as I've mentioned plenty of times in the video, becomes a 4-3-3. The fullbacks need to overlap a bit more. Tilo Kehrer is actually the only one that does anything when he overlaps. He can use both feet. He can pass it between the lines. And maybe he could be used as an emergency cover in midfield if we buy a good right back or a good centre back or whatever. Because I do like him. He has his frailties as well. Don't get me wrong, he does. He's a bit rash sometimes. He gets too many yellow cards. And he's still on a 1 more yellow card until he gets banned for a game. But do you think Johnson and Sufal would do any better? Did you not watch Johnson against Bournemouth for Liverpool? Did you not watch Sufal this whole season? Sufal doesn't make obvious errors, but he's always going backwards. Part of that is to Jared Bowen, but part of that is not using your weak foot, not crossing first time, not being decisive enough in position, which, luckily, Kehrer is Sufal's the better defender. Like, out-and-out defender, he is. Johnson's a better out-and-out defender. But we're playing possession football. So you gotta take that as a risk. And the main topic is getting the best out of your players, getting the best out of your signings, and getting the best out of Scamacca. I don't know whether Scamacca and Antonio will work, because I know Scamacca likes to link up play and Antonio likes to run in behind, but I don't think Antonio can run in behind that much anymore. I think Antonio wants to do the false line stuff as well. He wants to drift wide, Scamacca wants to drop deep. It won't work. Cornet would like to run in behind. If you want to play a 2 up front, Cornet would do a good job. Bowen has not done a good job when he's played in a 3-4-1-2 system as a right striker. He's not a striker in general, but he doesn't do anything. He hasn't done anything this season, Bowen, and it's a shame. If Bowen runs in behind more and helps Scamacca, he can get the best out of Scamacca, because Scamacca can ping a ball, he can pass a ball. He does try and ping a ball a bit too often, I will say that. But every time, when you watch Scamacca, because he's not a player who runs in behind, they just drop off and then rush him to get the ball off him. But no one's running. But if you run in behind, you give him an option. A bit like the Wolves game. Scamacca puts the ball into Bowen, and Bowen's about to take a shot. They tackle him, force Scamacca a goal. Now, that move doesn't happen if Bowen doesn't run in behind, Scamacca doesn't pass the ball to him. That's another way of getting the best out of him. Paqueta is a big reason why Scamacca has actually done quite well this season. I'm saying he's done quite well. And against Fulham, that assist against Anderlecht, both lobbing it over defenders. And Scamacca's got them in. So you're telling me that these two are the problem? Or is it the players that actually have been here for a number of years now, and we need to give them accountability? But getting the best out of Paqueta, drop him deep. Or play Downs behind him in the 4-2-3-1. Because even against what team did they play? Switzerland the other day. He got hooked off at half-time. But apparently that was because he was ill. Now, they did score afterwards, but it's not like Brazil played any better, like, any not a landslide better. I don't know how to describe it. Not a landslide better than they did in the first half. But Paqueta, that pinpoint pass to Richarlison, the pass to Vinicius, although he was offside, that's Vinicius' fault. He's the only one creating there, and he does well with Fred and Casemiro behind him because Fred and Casemiro are good together and they're good in possession. Now, when Declan Rice leaves, and if we don't get relegated, I can't believe I'm saying these fucking words, because we should be way past that stage by now. If you can hear someone crying, that's my fucking neighbour again. Then Downs and Paqueta will probably be the pivot. He probably will be. And the project will be gone by then, but hopefully Paqueta will stay. I think people need to realise that he's a really good player on our hands, and you won't realise what he's doing until they drop him. Now, the people that are saying drop Paqueta for Fornals, you are fucking delusional. I'm a nice person, but I've had enough. I heard it again after the Leicester game, when Fornals literally gave the ball away, when that was what people were criticising Paqueta for. The reason why I'm saying that multiple times in multiple videos is because Fornals doesn't get the criticism that he deserves. We've seen Fornals at the 10. We've seen Fornals on a wing, or both wings. We've seen Fornals deep a couple times. Maybe not enough. But if you're a Spanish midfielder, you can pass 5 yards, no? So even if I put you out on a wing, let's say I put a technical player out on a wing. I put that not used to playing technical. If I put Paul Scholes on a wing, that's happened before for England. But I'm sure he could pass 5 yards. If I put Wayne Rooney on a wing, I'm sure he could pass 5 yards. If I put Iniesta on the wing, I'm sure he could pass 5 yards. Now, Fornals, I'm not comparing Fornals to any of these players at all. I'm not saying he should be any of these players. But if he's as good as everyone says he is, then he can pass 5 yards. Now, granted, in the number 10, you're going to create more space for yourself. And you can get more passes off. But we saw him against 10 against Leicester. And look what happened. Apart from one brilliant pass to Bowen, we didn't see enough. We actually saw an assist for Leicester by Fornals. I will keep bashing this guy until he leaves the club. He said before he wants to retire here. I fucking hope not. And if we was to get relegated, he would be one of the first people to leave, and that's a fact. So if you think these players love this club as much as they say, that's your opinion. But after getting slightly angry in this video, this will be the end of the video. It's just one of my more structured videos on my channel. We're trying to get 100 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you can, do like my videos, please subscribe and like if you're new. These are my opinions. These are just my opinions. Even if you don't like my opinions, I'm sure you'll enjoy the videos. Leave your opinions in the comments below. Let's be civil. Talk about football, whatever. I will reply to your comments. Leave a like on the video if you're new. Leave a like on the video and subscribe if you're new. The social medias are in the description if you want to follow me. And an email for any inquiries. And that is why West Ham are shit in 2022. I will see you another time.